Hello and welcome everyone to the Global Cash Summit. If you have ever watched a world-class orchestra turn 1,000 tiny decisions into one breathtaking moment, you've already witnessed what high performance leadership looks like in real time. Our next main stage guest has spent her career making that happen under lights, under pressure, and in front of audiences where the results are immediate and public. Roit Feldenkreis is an international orchestra conductor, keynote speaker, and the founder and CEO of BHZ Consulting Group, based in Barcelona and working worldwide. She translates the precision, presence, and trust of the conductor's podium into practical leadership frameworks that help executives align faster, decide better, and execute with confidence. Through her signature symphonic leadership method, Roit coaches senior teams to turn ego into ensemble, chaos into clarity, and pressure into presence. Her work blends stage-tested communication, conductor-level nonverbal mastery, and rehearsal-style rituals that create psychological safety at speed. So, organizations don't just talk about culture, they perform it. And what I love most about Roy's work is how it bridges artistry and enterprise. She reminds us that leadership isn't about control, it's about connection. It's about listening as deeply as you lead. Today, she's going to share the same framework she uses with global executives, how to set expectations in the first 48 hours of any initiative, how to use body language to command the room without overtalking it, and how to turn conflicting virtuosos into a true symphony of execution. Expect actionable insights, unforgettable metaphors, and a glimpse into the conductor's craft that will change the way that you lead yourself on Monday morning and beyond. It is my absolute honor to welcome to the Global Clash Summit award-winning conductor, executive performance coach, and the creator of symphonic leadership, Roit Feldenkreis. Roit, welcome. We are so thrilled
Wow.
to have you with us today.
What an introduction. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm just like I'm honored like after this amazing introduction to say, wow, thank you so much, Cassandra. It's a pleasure to be here and to speak to you about everything.
Well, your perspective, turning a conductor's mastery into leadership performance, is one of the most unique frameworks we've ever featured. Let's start at the podium.
Wow,
You,
thank you so much.
yeah, you've led orchestras where every decision is live and the results are immediate. So, in one line, what exactly is symphonic leadership and what problem does it solve first for executives?
Well, symphonic leadership is a method that connects all your presence, powerful skills, your soft skills, into one cohesive performance personality and executive leadership, which allows you to connect your teams in the best way possible to inspire them and to transform your employees' experience and your clients as well.
I love that. You're not just describing uh, you're really describing instant alignment that,
Exactly.
every founder or executive dreams of, where, clarity and trust happen in real time. So
Yes.
take us to a high stakes moment. One of those times when you had seconds to turn tension into trust. What do you do? And what did it teach you about leading under pressure?
Well, I think there's just so many moments like that in the conductor's journey. So basically, uh, I get to an orchestra, a new one that has not seen me yet, has not worked with me, and I have 2 to 5 minutes to establish trust with 50 to 100 musicians, and they're all high performers. They're all the best that there is. So it is just matters, in a matter of minutes, the alignment has to be so perfect that the music can really resonate within absolutely seconds.
That's so powerful. And it's such a direct mirror to leadership inside a company. So when the team's energy is up, everybody's up. When the team's energy drops, the leader's body becomes that instrument that really sets that tempo again for everybody, just like the conductor.
Yes, of course. I mean, it's just amazing that, the thing that differentiates conducting from executive leadership in corporate firms is that, when you really lift your arm and give that downbeat, you get the sound immediately. So the feedback is so immediate. If you mess up just by an instant of a second, you already know that something is wrong. Whereas in companies, you have much more time, and sometimes you miss out on things until it's too late, by the end of the quarter, by the end of the year. So in obviously on stage, things are quite fast. So the feedback is just instant.
So we're really translating that podium power into the boardroom. So walk us through your first 48 hours framework. How can a leader use those first 2 days to really create clarity and alignment?
I think the first thing that any leader has to start with is connecting with themselves. So going back to that center, understanding why they do what they do. Why are they in that position? Why do they want to begin doing this job in the first place? And go back to like owning that power of who they are essentially, through their core. And so to look for that authenticity within yourself. Once you know that, and once you have a mastery of your own emotions, you can start speaking to other people. So if you have 48 hours to align a new team in a new position, it's always best to come really centered and then start by connecting to the people that are in front of you and to convey the message that, okay, this is who I am. This is why I'm here. This is what I would like to be doing. And this is how we're going to be doing it together. And when you do all those things, then you can look at the people in front of you and see how they are, if they're really into what you're saying. You try to read the room a bit, and in those 48 hours, see who is already aligned with your vision, who's on the fence, just like not sure, and who's not really leaning into your vision.
Mhm.
And so that would be the moment to start speaking to those people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's so simple, but it's immediately actionable. This is how leaders get to cut out the noise. So
Yeah.
you often talk about conducting without over talking. So what are three nonverbal cues leaders can master that raise authority without raising volume?
Oh, wow. I mean, I think first and foremost, as a leader, you have that ability to sense things without over explaining or without asking questions. So you have to know what you are really, when you're speaking to people, how you come across. So you might be saying all the right things, but your body language is not at all in sync with your message. And so when that happens, this is a really huge red flag for most people because they sense that disconnection. So it is really crucial that you have that message really powerful, within what you want to say, how you want to say it, of course, but that your body language is open, that you really look at people that you're speaking to and all that. On the other hand, what you need to do is to really watch closely to observe what is actually going on with your team members. So if you see them, just like looking the other way, just they're, glancing at one another, not so sure, the energy is a bit flat, be sure of your instinct, of your intuition, and address that, let's say, delicately, because you don't know why this is happening. You don't know them yet that well, but you should ask, listen, I see that your guys are not that sure. I'm sensing there's an issue. How about we talk about it? So only then ask the actual question after you've observed and seen what is happening. And the third thing that you can do, I think, is to really work on your facial expressions. So when you're speaking to someone, it's not just about your body being open, but actually looking that person in the eye, smiling at them, getting their reaction. It's a very, very small thing, but is so intuitive that all young children, all babies know this. So it's not something that you have to be, taught, but you have to go back to those skills and master them again and just use them to your advantage.
I love that. I love that. Just even basic human ways that we use to communicate that are nonverbal. It's great, and it creates a great shift with people, even their tone of voice, how you speak to someone, your tone of voice. There's
Oh,
so
yeah.
many different ways that we can interpret this nonverbal cues that we have, that it really informs the people in the room as we are leading. So you can actually feel the energy shift in the room when you have those changes. So now, one of your signature ideas is orchestrating ego. So how do you
Yeah.
how do you turn a room full of soloists into a cohesive ensemble?
Well, I think this is one of the biggest questions and challenges that leaders face constantly, especially in high performing scenarios. Um, I like to go back to basics here and say, to remind myself that these are all amazing professionals. And I am so privileged to be working with them. Just to start with that, to be grateful that I have all this amazing talent within, in one space. And just be really, really mindful of the people in front of me, that they have all been through that journey and they have gone to that place and not by accident.
Mhm.
So this would be my first, my first advice. And then what happens is, high performers, I think there's like, you have to be really mindful of how you address high performers because they want you to challenge them. They want you to be, to appreciate their talents. And just like, you see this with orchestras. If you just say, yeah, everything's okay, nice, great, great musical line here, they get a bit depressed actually, because they feel that you don't believe in them enough to challenge them even more, to say, no, I mean, this is not good enough. I want it clearer. I want this phrase to be a bit different. So the same thing with your any team in any industry. You have to recognize their talent and tell them, listen, I want more here. I'd like a bit less here, and correct as fast as possible without bringing any emotion to it. So with high performers, it's just about, listen, this isn't exactly working for me. I'd like something else. Can we do this instead of that? And it's just so simple. But what happens is that when ego comes inside to this conversation, people think, okay, so this person is so talented, so experienced. How can I tell them that this isn't what I wanted? But it's actually quite simple. You get these amazing soloists on stage and you say, listen, my vision for this phrase, for this harmony is a bit different. How about that? Can we try that?
Mhm.
And so at the end of the day, I think harnessing ego, orchestrating ego, is just reminding ourselves that these are amazing people. And we just have to find the way to really acknowledge their potential, their skills, and address them with the, let's say, you just have to be really respectful,
Mhm.
really respectful of these people, and just give thanks and just even acknowledge just gratitude. Thank you so much for your work. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your amazing ideas, and listen to those ideas. Listen to that.
Mhm. Yes, and I love that it's very collaborative and it respects people's um their value. It show they're going
Exactly.
to absolutely love the leader who says, I respect you, I'm grateful for you, I appreciate you, and this part is not working for me, can we try this instead? And that
Exactly.
way it kind of makes them co-collaborators, and when they do that, people are going to want to give you what you're looking for. They are going to want to do better. The word challenge that you use, it's yes, it's a challenge, but it's a loving challenge. It's not a challenge that is aggressive. It is a challenge that is, can we elevate all the 1% top of who you are and harness that so that we can create the 1% of what we're looking for here? And that
Yes.
is just gold, right? So, because many high performers mistake control for leadership, but you're showing us that authority and collaboration can exist in the same gesture.
Yeah, exactly. Because on stage, especially if you're working with 100 musicians, control is not going to work. It's just not going to work. You have to give them the space, literally the space. I mean, don't bother them. Don't bother them. Just have the space for them to really shine, to really bring out each and everyone's talent. So the symphony or the concerto is just as brilliant as possible, you know?
Mhm.
And of course, it's not an easy task when you have a team of 20 high performers, in your office, and each and every one of those wants to go in a different direction. But I mean, obviously, as a leader, at the end of the day, you are the one who's going to decide. But it is a matter of just saying, okay, listen, I hear you. I hear you. Can we talk about it? And at the end of the day, they know they like you to decide. Of course, we need a leader to do those decisions, to make those decisions. But you have to give them space to really bring out their talents. I mean, without that, it's so depressing.
So let's talk speed and safety. Two things that often clash. You teach psychology safety at speed. So, how does that work in practice and when deadlines are tight?
Well, I think the first thing that we always have to remember is that, we are all people. Everyone comes to the office or to the rehearsal hall and tries to put all their external challenges outside. So you don't know how your team is going to arrive every single day. You might have a soloist who's had a rough breakup, or their parent is sick, or their child is struggling. And when you think about that, we all go through these different things. So the psychological safety is the part where you say, listen, you can really come to me with anything that you have on your mind. It's not just saying it for the sake of saying it, but I do see you, I do hear you. And when you get a chance as a leader, if you have those 2 minutes and you've witnessed, you did the work, you observed your team, you saw that something isn't exactly right with one of your performers, that's the time to go back and ask them, listen, I see that your energy is a bit off today. What's going on? Are you okay? Is there anything that I can help with? And so speed is the enemy sometimes. But when you acknowledge people's, challenges outside the workplace, you tell them, listen, I see that you're struggling. I know this is really difficult for you, but I have to ask you. I mean, we're on a deadline. Is there any way you can do it? If not, let me know. I'll find someone else. But just being able to share exactly what is going on, have people come to you and feel, secure enough to tell you that they're having some issues.
Mhm. Yeah, and even that person, if they're going through some issue in their family life, in their home life, in their life outside of the office or the boardroom, we don't really know what's going on and how deeply things are really affecting them. So I like coming out and just being human and connecting with that person, showing empathy, showing that you care, but at the same time,
Exactly.
informing them that we are on a deadline. I have my priorities that need to be done, and if you cannot step up to the plate, in a very polite way, of course, then I will find someone else.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and that relieves the stress and the pressure that that person, that fear that that person could be feeling, that they have to show up at 100% when they're not 100% because of these things. And, I think it takes also mental health into consideration. It's very respectful of people. And, we all have seasons and moments when we're going through things, but they are for a season. They're not for a lifetime. And so there will be a beginning, a middle, and an end to every single thing that comes up in life. And they will also remember the way you treated them as a leader when they were going through this. And that is another opportunity to harbor and create that, foster that deep respect and admiration for one another, that relationship that can become even more trusting and deeper moving forward. So I love that. I love that. So uh, that's just beautiful. And this is the CEO in crisis moments and just living up to our best as well. So that's really, really great. So
Yeah,
can you
exactly.
can you show us something like that in action? Would you show us two contrasting gestures with your baton or with your orchestral movements in order to communicate a calm, expansive downbeat versus a tight and anxious cue? And tell us
Mhm.
what each communicates in a business setting.
Okay, so one would be like the calmer one, the CEO that has everything together, and the other one will be the stressed, out of their mind, burnout type of leader.
Great.
Okay. So, and I won't tell you which one is which. Okay. So let's see. I mean, this will be my baton for now because it's just over there, but yeah. Okay. Okay, so that's the first one.
Uh-huh.
I think you can figure out what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yep.
basically, I think it's quite clear which is which. And
Hmm.
obviously, this is a very, very fast tempo, but because I wanted them to be as similar as possible, but
Yeah.
different.
Yes, yes.
So
Even
which was which?
even what I noticed was in the first one, which was, of course, the more aggressive one, the more
Yeah,
stressed out one.
definitely.
What what I what I noticed, I don't know if ever anyone else noticed, that it began with an inhalation. It began with Roit communicating non-verbally through the way she inhaled her breath.
Yeah, this would be for any downbeat, any
Yes,
for the orchestra, for any musician. Well, you know it as a singer yourself,
I
Cassandra.
do.
That
I
I
do.
mean, the breath is something that it is the nonverbal cue of a lifetime.
Yes. And I think that also leaders, if you actually actually, I'm going to challenge our leaders today. As you go through your day with your business and your teams, I would highly recommend that you pay attention to how you inhale before you speak.
Oh yeah,
Because that is actually a non-verbal cue. It is an indicator of how you are feeling, how you're showing up for people. And even though they might not be aware of it consciously, it is a subconscious cue. This is
yeah.
how we communicate to one another as humans. And so that visual that we just saw right now can land so deeply with everyone that one small shift in posture and the whole ensemble will change,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
also you give, the inhalation here is just a cue for yourself as well. It's not just for the people in front of you, but to yourself, like what type of breath am I taking here? How anxious am I? So for
Hmm.
sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
if you pay attention to how you are instinctively breathing today before you go to speak to someone, just pay attention to how you inhale. It can inform you on your state. And then if you find that you are conveying a state in which you don't want to show up as, that gives you the opportunity to assess that situation, analyze what happened, and make a choice to create a different outcome next time you speak.
Yeah,
Because
I think I know.
like
Oh,
it.
sorry, I was interrupting you.
No, it's okay.
I think that, as musicians, we're used to working in front of a mirror. It's something that we do every single year when we practice to see if our body is as calm as we thought it was.
Mhm.
And so I always suggest for leaders, especially ones who have to speak in front of many people, give a really important presentation, all that, practice in front of a mirror. And so what you said about the breathing part, how you come across, it might not be what you wanted, but when you see it in front of you, you say, oh, wow. I mean, my jaw here was a bit tight. My chest felt a bit, restricted. So I can change that.
Hmm. That's amazing. Okay, so that just really gives us a little bit of clarity on what we can do there. So if our audience only implemented three habits from you for the next 30 days, which would you choose and how could they measure progress?
Okay, well, I think the first one I would choose is something that probably people would not expect, but for me, especially as a conductor, but definitely for any leader in any industry, would be the emotional mastery, which is one of the five pillars of the symphonic leadership. And the reason that I chose this is because anything that you do can be misinterpreted, can be seen in different ways, and your message lands in certain ways according to how you present yourself. But your emotional mastery is even more important because you are always measured by how you react when things fall apart.
Sure.
So, this is one thing that really separates the great leaders from the good ones, I would say. And when you see someone who you admire and you have admired for years, that they fall apart or start yelling or start speaking in a very unpleasant way to their team members, all of a sudden you realize that their leadership is not exactly what you thought it was. So emotional mastery is, just saying, listen, things will be difficult, but these people look up to me. I have to provide a calm sense of leadership, of, for them to follow through, to know that I am this rock they can rely on. So that would be the first one. The second one would be, let's say, oh, there are quite a few.
Yes,
You
yes,
said
yes.
three, right?
Well, yes, yeah, we can just make them short.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say um, definitely commanding presence, which would say, listen, you are the expert in what you do, but that's not going to work if you don't know how to speak with the people that are in front of you. You have to make sure that you speak their language. If you're speaking to your IT team, it's one thing, your sales team, another, your board of directors, a third thing. So you have to see that you're really, really into it
Yeah.
and that your presence is always there exactly. And so the third thing would be to try and think of yourself as a transformative leader and start working on your inspirational authority. So how you connect people rather than how you control them.
That's beautiful. Okay, so um your article on why we need real change for women in leadership hit me deeply. In your view, what systemic shifts actually move the needle beyond representation?
Wow, that's a huge one. So let's say, listen, I'm not in a position, that like I don't decide on different policies, but I do have some ideas on how things might be a bit different. I think the first thing is, just making those laws that, women have to be represented in the government before anything else with, a 50-50 like division. Because we see in so many countries, the majority is still male. And so I would start there because, these are our representatives. But if we speak about private companies, of course, what I would do is try to have these interviews that don't suggest, don't ask if you're a male or female, just like leave that, in a different place. We do that in classical music. I don't know if you probably know that. I mean, you put this type of curtain that the judges don't see if you're male, female, how old you are, whatever. You just play behind this curtain. And so it is based solely on your playing. And this has created a huge shift for orchestras worldwide. And it is amazing to see finally, because even there's even another trick that they've used now that it's amazing. They put a carpet. So, females, we usually come with high heels to
Right.
these types of events, and then you hear them walk. So, no, there's a huge carpet, and then you don't hear that, and you don't know who's playing. So there are so many things we can do, but I think it has to come, from the like a regulation point of view.
That's amazing. That really is a blind spot that
It is.
global leaders, you know, uh, get an opportunity to look at and to diagnose. And so this is actually good kind of blueprint that they can use, even metaphorically, for how they integrate these changes for more equitable business and opportunities for people moving forward and to really change the
Yeah.
world. Such an important insight. So, yes, okay. And then, Roy, this conversation has really been extraordinary. You've given us the conductor's roadmap for clarity, for authority, and trust under pressure. So, for those who want to go deeper, you are gifting a 30-minute diagnostic section for senior
Yes.
leaders where they can experience your symphonic leadership in real time. So they can
Yes,
book
exactly.
that call and they can take your 10-question communication audit as well. So for anyone who's ready to elevate their own leadership, their own tempo, stay tuned for her upcoming workshop on mastering inspirational authority, presence, energy alignment. It's going to be phenomenal. So, Roy, thank you for bringing your brilliance and artistry to the Global Cash Summit. This has been a true masterclass in performance under pressure. And to all of our attendees, remember, leadership is not about being the loudest instrument in the room. It is about creating harmony that lasts. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Cassandra. Thank you.